There is one light in the tunnel, a light of hope. All I could think of is my birthday cake and candles that I'm going to blow out at the end of the day, but that day never came. I came to realize that the tunnel that we stayed in are not tunnels, but they're bunkers. Bunkers that my grandfather built in the backyard of our house so that we're not hit by the bombs during the civil war in Sri Lanka. I don't remember much about Sri Lanka, but at that time, I remember my grandfather used to shove us under the stove, my sister and I, so that we don't get hit by the bombs. For me, it was hide and seek. We fled the Sri Lankan civil war and we came to Canada as refugees. For my parents, it was very difficult integrating into the Canadian society. For them to find proper employment, certain facilities, to fit in with the culture in itself was very difficult for them. They didn't spend much time with us. They were always looking for opportunities. I remember the first time I moved into the Malvern community, and just right there, at my doorstep, I saw a dead body. And I realized, if I wanted to break the cycle of poverty, I need to work twice as hard to break that cycle. Much of my elementary school, I didn't have much cultural issues, but I remember being called a Paki because I used to wear a bindi on my forehead, and I had my hair very long up to here. And I didn't care so much to focus on the labels, because that's not who I am. I just did my thing. When I got to high school, things changed. But I still didn't care. I'm who I am. I remember my guidance counselor looked at me and said, with your grades, can you get into a university? And I said, no. With your grades, can you get into a college? I said, no. And with your grades, can you get into a trade school? I said, no. My grades weren't that great. And I didn't care so much because I didn't have any motivation as a young woman. At that time, it was just about surviving. So I ended up working at a coffee shop at the age of 15 for $6.85. Then I went into the call center environment, and I had a lot of money at once. And I thought, this is life. I had a lot of money. So why did I have to go to school? I know I was young, but I met the love of my life in high school. And he looked at me, he said, you have so much potential. Why are you wasting it? Why are you taking applied courses? Why not academic courses? I started taking academic courses, regardless of what my guidance counselor said. And I got all straight A's. And I got into university. And at that time, I wasn't ready for university because of the financial situation at home. I dropped out of university the moment I signed in. I got enrolled, and within a couple of months, I dropped out. And I remember sitting on the Finch bus to downtown Toronto, and I realized, I was thinking to myself, what am I doing with my life? And we stopped by at Seneca College, that bus stop right there. And all the students came on board, and they were talking about their course. They were talking about their day at school. And I was like, is this the life that I wanted? Is this the risk that my parents took, fleeing Sri Lanka, to get us here so that I can go to work full-time at a call center? My parents didn't have much privilege growing up in Sri Lanka. They didn't have the privilege and rights that Canada gives us as a country. Especially as a woman, those rights aren't there in Sri Lanka. I worked really hard and I got into university. I completed my undergrad in criminology, justice, and policy studies. Then I had the cultural pressures. Okay, you're dating a guy. How come you're not married yet? How come you don't have kids yet? I was only 26. It's as if they treated me like I was a senior. But those were the jokes that they would throw at me. Are you going to have kids when you're 60? But I didn't care. I did what I wanted. I was very, very stubborn. It's not to go against my parents, but I knew that I don't want to be like my mom. Because she didn't get that far in regards to an education, a career. So I wanted to be different. So I told my mom, I'm not listening to you. I'm doing what I want. And plus I had a husband who was very supportive. He's like, you're not ready for kids. Go get another education or do something with your life. So I ended up doing my master's in public policy and law. But then when I got to work at the Ontario Public Service, people were asking me, why is your name so long? Why are all the alphabets in your name? It's so hard to pronounce your name. When are you going to get married and change that last name of yours? Sure, I couldn't find a Tom or a John, but it was shorter, and that situation didn't change. I had to butcher my name to get an interview or land a job because people couldn't pronounce my name, or how am I going to fit in this organization? I was very frustrated because recently I applied for a position and the employer asked me, is this all Canadian experience? I was thinking to myself, what does she think when looking at my resume to ask that question, is this all Canadian experience? I lived in Canada almost all my life. I was quite surprised that she asked me that question. And I was very, very frustrated. I was telling my husband, I wish I had a different last name. I was really ashamed that I had a long last name. But then I realized, why do I have to change my identity to fit in? I'm born to stand out. And I realized that it's not about being Canadian to fit in. It's about not forgetting your roots, not forgetting who you are. As Tamil Canadians, we don't have that identity in Sri Lanka. That was taken away from us. And I realized Tamil is not just the language in itself, but it's our identity. It's my culture. It's my life, and it's who I am today. My husband and I, we sat down when we had our son. He's 10 months right now. And we decided to name our son Tamil as a middle name. And people looked at us and said, are you crazy? Why would you give him a middle name as Tamil when you also have that difficulty? I don't want my son to forget our culture and our roots. I find that it's very important to pass that down generation by generation. And if you take that identity away, there's nothing left. And with pride, I can say that I'm a Tamil Canadian. Thank you.